Hey everybody, what's up? Tim here with this week's Magnetic Moment. Hope you are phenomenal and crushing it and having the best day, and thanks so much for watching. Title for today's shoot is Get Fear Out of Your Story, and this comes to us based off the quote from earlier in the week that said, fear is simply the story that we tell ourselves. Fears are the stories that we tell ourselves. So here is the issue with fear. Fear is a force. It's a force of belief, and it's the force of belief going in a direction that you do not want it to go in. Fear is belief in something that's not desired. Fear is faith in a negative outcome. And as you continue to think about your fears and you begin to practice them, and they become part of your actions and part of your words, which they will over time because they're a product of your thoughts, they eventually start to manifest themselves, because no matter what it is, if we believe for something on the positive, we're going to move in that direction. Or if we believe for something on the negative, we're going to move in that direction. And faith is the belief in a positive outcome. Fear is the belief in a negative outcome. And both fear and faith are the same forces, but one's going positive, one's going negative. Both of them are products of the thoughts that we tell ourselves again and again and again, and they become our stories. And our stories are the internal dialogue that we repeat time after time after time until we start to receive it, we start to believe it, and eventually it becomes our truth. And when it becomes our truth, when it becomes our dominant line of thinking, then everything about us moves in a direction to fulfill that. Our emotions, our spirit, our mind, our actions, our words, every single thing about us. And both of those, fear and faith, are created by practicing those thoughts over time. So if you have a great deal of faith, it's because you've been entertaining faith-filled thoughts, and you've allowed yourself to think about those and dwell on them and think about them again and again and again. And if you are struggling with fear-based thoughts, it's because you've been practicing those fear thoughts again and again and again, and rehearsing in your mind, what could go wrong? What could happen if this goes on? This is going to be a catastrophe. This is going to go sideways. This is going to blow up, etc. Because fear and faith need to be created. Both of them start with an individualized thought, but it's in the practicing of that thought. It's in the repetition of that thought. It's in the entertaining of that thought again and again and again, whether or not it takes life. That's what dictates, do they become a part of our dominant thinking? And once they become part of our dominant thinking and we think about them enough, they actually move from our conscious to our subconscious, where they go on under the surface all the time, and we can't even control them because they are under our radar. So what we need to do is we need to be very, very cautious. We need to be vigilant and on guard about the thoughts that we entertain. Hey, just because a thought comes in your mind doesn't mean it's bad or good. Doesn't mean you can control it, but you can totally control what you do with it. So you have to ask yourself the question, do I want this thought to become my reality? Is what I'm thinking what I want to happen in my life? Do I want it to become part of my life? Is it what I want to see grow into existence on a daily basis? And if the answer is yes, then keep thinking it. If the answer is no, then you need to cut it off as soon as it comes in. No one should ever entertain a thought or a voice that doesn't empower them. So if anything isn't consistent with where you want to go or who you want to be or what you want, if it's contrary to that, get rid of it. Immediately turn your attention on what you want, not on what you don't want. Because if you let those thoughts of fear, those thoughts of what you don't want, germinate and fester and grow over time again and again and again, pretty soon it's going to become your habitual thoughts, it's going to become your story, and you're actually going to manifest the very thing that you're afraid of. But the good news is it works on the positive as well. So if you entertain those positive thoughts again and again and again over time, that's going to become your story. You're going to move in that direction, and you're going to manifest those things. So our fears are simply the stories that we tell ourselves again and again and again. And the way to disable that, to dismantle that, is to move away from the fear-based thoughts and move toward faith-based thoughts. And practice the faith-based thoughts and get rid of any thought that isn't consistent or congruent with where you want to go. Your fear is your story. You have 100% control over your story. To get rid of your fears, tell yourself a different story. To tell yourself a different story, start to entertain different thoughts. Always make sure your thoughts and your story move you where you want to go and not where you don't. And if they are dissonant with that, if they're not congruent with where you want to go, get rid of them, refuse to entertain them, and put your focus 100% on what you do want to think and what you do want to go, where you do want to go, and that will catapult you not only into where you want to go, but far and beyond. So this is Tim with today's Magnetic Moment, saying your fear is a story. If you don't like your story, change your thoughts, and your story will change. Move it to a faith-based thought. It'll become a faith-based story, and your life will become more magnificent than you can imagine. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.